It's been building for a while. 'Cause last month all I did was sleep and cry. Found a box of your things that I sit on your lawn. Brought that newspaper with, rang your doorbell, then I run singing extra, extra. Read all about it. Today was the day that I discovered I'm better off without her. She had strawberry hair and red wine in her stare, but all they did was mask the fact that she never really cared for me. I'm at the grocery store, dancing through the aisles, picking out all the things that you said were too unhealthy. Extra, extra, read all about it. Today was the day that I discovered I'm better off without her. She had strawberry hair and red wine in her stare, but all they did was mask the fact that she never really cared for me. Extra, extra, this just in. Local man has left the sorry state he was in. Call my tailor, hit the gym, buy a boat, learn to swim. Goodbye, my lady, 'cause you weren't the flavor anywhere that could make me happy.
This is never gonna be any good for you or me. 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 This is never gonna be any good for you or me. This is never gonna be any good for you.
Hello everyone! Hi! Next we held a session leveraging communities to drive growth and value creation in Web3 gaming. This session featured outstanding guests who are at the forefront of the Web3 gaming industry. Without further delay, let me introduce our speakers. Please welcome Horace Sean, director at Alois Games. Woo! And the next speaker is Jerome Wu, CEO of Space Nation. Next speaker is Sobi Sakibu, CEO founder, co-founder of Sai. Sorry. And the next speaker is Gabby Dizum, co-founder of Yell Guild Games. And moderating this session is Jeffrey Jilling, co-founder and chief growth officer at Sky Mavis. Thank you.
Testing, testing. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining us. We will be having a discussion on Web3 gaming, how to build communities, where do we go from here? So I am joined by a great group of speakers, some OGs, some up-and-comers. So yeah, let's do a quick round of introductions, and we'll start with Gabby.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabby Dizon, co-founder of Yield Guild Games, or YUG. We are a platform that aggregates communities into guilds, and then we send them to their favorite games.
Hi, I'm Sobi. I'm one of the co-founders of Zai. We're a game publisher and a gaming chain built on the Arbitrum tech stack.
Hello everyone, it's Jerome Wu from Space Nation.
Hi, this is Horace from, I'm a founder of and director of Arrowiz, a new game development studio. Thank you.
All right, so let's get into this. All right, so we have about 6 questions, right? So I'll ask the question, and each of you guys can respond. We'll go left to right for the first question, and then we'll go right to left, right, and alternate. Okay, so the topic of this panel is leveraging communities to drive growth and value in Web3 gaming. So, yeah, what have you guys seen to be the keys to building a community in Web3 gaming from day one? And some of you guys have actually, right, like Web2 gaming experience, so I'm interested in how you're seeing community building and bootstrapping a player base. How does that differ in Web3 versus Web2?
Yeah, so I'll start. So I've been a game developer for almost 20 years. I got my start in crypto in 2017. I joined the Axie community in 2018, and then started YGG in 2020. So I think if you want to look at Web 2 versus Web 3 gamers, I think in Web 2 you're only focused about the game itself, right? And in Web 3 you're focused a lot on like the assets, what actions am I doing to improve these assets. So that's like a very key difference. I think it's easier for you to get a long-term community if you're focused on doing something together and then building an asset base that grows over time. And we've seen this with first the Axie and then the Ronin communities. But within just general crypto and then Web3 gaming community, I think it's really important we're not just thinking about investing or having number go up. I think it's important that people are actually enjoying doing something together. And if we've seen a lot of communities that, you know, when a token price is going up, communities come together very quickly. But when it goes down, if there's nothing that these people enjoy doing together, these communities actually crumble just as quickly as well.
Sobi.
So I think for us, you know, community growth is something that's actually important in both Web 2 or Web 3. If you talk to a lot of Web 2 game developers, you know, you ask them, what are you focused on right now? Most of them are saying we're focused on building community. Web 3 is the same way, except Web 3 has a secret weapon in tokens. I think tokens can be really good tools for coordinating and building communities. The problem, however, is that a lot of teams or a lot of projects aren't actually trying to build the community in the sense of like giving the value back to the community. That's where you have like toxic culture. I think we have a lot of communities or groups that call themselves community, but the difference between a group and a community is ultimately culture. And how you grow and scale that culture to be exit velocity, I think has to be centered around, why am I a part of this community? Why am I enjoying this game? Am I enjoying this game in crypto because there's a financial aspect? Maybe that's what got me into it. But I stuck around because of, I get to contribute to the game. I'm a content creator, and the audience and the gamers are actually paying attention to me, and I'm passionate about the IP. So I think it's a mix of all of those things combined on how to bootstrap Web 2 versus Web 3.
My answer might not be that practical. It's mainly my lessons and just want to share. So, I mean, in old days, I was actually probably the very first community manager in game industry in China. When I joined Blizzard in 2006, for some reason I cannot take the producer role, so I end up become the very first community manager for Great China for more than 2 years. Oversee the community, oversee esports as well. So when I get into Web3 in 2021, I thought at least I know how community works, but it turned out to be not true. I spent a half a year to realize there's such a huge difference. So in Web2 days, in Web2 game industry, the core of a project is the product itself. And then we share all the information like new content, future updates, and plan for the next expansion with our communities to make them happy and keep them engaged. But in Web3, well, the answer is, I mean, the conclusion is I think the core of a project is actually the community itself. So not only sharing the product content, but you also need to share your visions and your plans and your logic with your community and identify those core members, core community members, and make them your companions, make them your actual team members, and build the future all together. So that's my learning and the lesson. It took me 6 months.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think I'm a typical kind of Web2 game studio kind of owner, and I came from a background of previously I've been in the industry for a very long time. I signed EVE Online to China in year 2005, so I managed EVE Online for 10 years. So that's a really community-driven economy and system, right? And I dealt with traditional Web2 gamers for a very long time. They mostly care about the gameplay, the balancing, how they can interact with each other, and also they want more features come out of it. They have a very strong kind of a ownership kind of feeling. They feel that they are interacting with the developer. They're always asking for all kind of features, right? And they debate about it. I think for me, it's really a new experience, just like what Jeremy told me, that the Web3 users, they have more demands. They probably care more about incentives in the beginning or the tokens that they want to be participating in this process, right? So I think that's what be really kind of a new experience for me as a Web2 game developer. I think, but we also need to balancing that really carefully, right? Your game features need to, there always be kind of a group of users are really extreme. They only care about the money, and another extreme is that they only care about gameplay. They don't care about the money at all, right? They're always kind of very different variety of interests. So we just need to, giving them options to have fun with. So some want to make fun of the money, some want, very good gameplay. So there's always a balance there to be really carefully kind of designed for that. I think that's a challenge. So.
Okay, so it seems like, right, what you're saying is that in Web3, the community tends to be at the core, right? Like you want aspects that are very social. You want the game developer to enroll the community in some sort of vision, right? A common cause. I think a lot of people here, all of our life, we've been waiting to be part of something much larger than ourselves, right? And it seems like with Web3, we can finally be part of a movement. I think that's something we see with Axie and Ronin, where it's really actually right similar to nation building. Of course, when you're building a nation, you need to make sure that your populace, they have circuses, right? They need to be having fun, but also, right, they need to feel like, hey, there's an amount of patriotism or nationalism, right? So I actually think, right, the pride in the project that people feel is similar to that. And of course, right, with a nation, we all know that the economy is really important as well, right? So you need to create that culture. You need to bind people together with this shared vision, but also there's this element of economic incentives and alignment. So, all right, let's move to the next question, which is basically centered around. So yeah, many of you guys have come to Japan a couple of times, or for some of you, it may be your first trip. What are you guys seeing in the Web3 gaming market for Japan, right, in some of your discussions? And are there any ways for Japanese IPs to smoothly enter the world of Web3 gaming? There's obviously so many like iconic IPs here, and it might be like a major source of growth, right? If we can somehow onboard these IPs into Web3.
Yeah, I think it's a good question for me a lot. So I came over here. It's my first time, looking at Japanese gaming industry from a Web3 angle. That's really new. And I've been to TGS many times, so obviously. So I feel that I hope there will be more game creators actually doing more experiments with the IPs from here to not just Japanese audience, but also worldwide audience. I hope there will be more companies starting to doing that. And that's definitely involves a lot of experiments, right? Different IP have different audience and different features and have different expectations from users. So they care about very diversified things. So that part, only game creator can do a better job. So I think this is something what I'm expecting from the industry. In terms of Japanese IPs go to the Web3 world, I think because we are still early in that frontier, I hope, meaning that we are all facing the problems of limited user base, right? This is the problem we need to solve, right, for everyone. Meaning that I hope all the IPs can look at the global market as a bigger market to start with. If you're only looking at a local market, I think the user base will be really limited. It's really hard for the limited user base to sustain the growth of the product. I think that's something, it's a big challenge to everyone, I think.
I'm not super familiar with Web3 game industry in Japan, but I'm kind of pretty familiar with the Web3 community here. So in our game Space Nation, we just had a closed beta, and we had like 2,300 Japanese users in our closed beta. And I have to say that it is so important. If a Web3 game project, if you are really looking to create like a long-term project and the game quality is good enough, then you should prioritize the Japanese community. So based on my experience, our Japanese community, they are so kind, and they are very like royal, and they are very reasonable, and they are all diamond hands. And if you get their support, and this is like a great fundamental thing for your project in the long run. And then in terms of the IP question, I think you have a much big say than me. My personal suggestion is, because there's so many big IPs in Japan, right? I think for those IP holders, maybe you should just get to embrace Web3 like for real, and really to understand how the system works, instead of just to consider it's a new revenue stream for your IP. And then don't do something too big before you figure out how it actually works, but move really faster when you really understand how it works. And another suggestion is maybe you can find some like really good Web3 project and do IP collaboration with them, and that's gonna be really help you to speed up your learning process. So like for example, for our game, we are creating in-game content for those big IPs. We're creating like a planet for the apes, a space station for apes, a whole like alien races for apes, and like storylines, quests, items, NFT crews, even spaceships. So that's kind of like really good combination for those new IPs. I'm also here trying to find those traditional Japanese IP to collaborate with, especially those sci-fi IPs like Macross, like the 5-star stories. So yeah, that's my personal understanding. Thanks.
I think Japan is actually very uniquely positioned compared to other countries. What Gio was mentioning earlier, Japan has some of the most iconic IP in the world. I think the way to really allow the consumer to understand why crypto or Web3 is so powerful is to, one, build the IP. The IP is what sets the foundation of the relationship between the user and the journey that they're ultimately going on. I'm a big One Piece collector, and I've spent a lot of money on One Piece cards, which are just NFTs that are actually inferior to like real NFTs. It's really difficult to transport and store these things, but these IPs are consumed globally. And Japan currently, isn't in the best economic condition. And incorporating crypto, one aspect of crypto that I think is underspoken about is that you have a globally scalable payment infrastructure out of the gate. You don't have to worry about all of the tech debt. For instance, there's places in Kyoto that don't even accept credit or debit card. It's probably easier to upgrade these systems to accept stable coins than it is to facilitate how these payment processors work. So you could take this global IP, create new ways for people to interact with it, and then have payment infrastructure that is globally scalable out of the box that will allow anyone around the world to come in and facilitate. And the last part too is you'll allow people to hold US dollars through stablecoins. If you are worried about currency purchasing power on the long term, stablecoins are a great way for your consumers to, one, maintain their purchasing power, but then also have a better way, faster way to purchase goods and ultimately interact with the IPs that they love. And I think we'll see Japanese publishers and studios actually pave the way for this rather than the incumbents in the West.
Yeah, so for us, we've had our YGG Japan unit for 2 years now. And I'd say that in terms of local market, I think that it's been slow in scaling an organic gamer market. Part of that probably because Japanese gamers are very particular with the quality bar of the games they want to play. And the user interface, the user experience also has to be tailored towards the taste of the Japanese gamers. And we haven't seen games that have really modify their games towards that. I do think that the gamers will be willing to accept Web3 games, especially as the quality goes up, and we're seeing a lot of good games that have been development in the last 2 or 3 years that are starting to tweak their UI, the language preference towards the Japanese market specifically.
Makes sense. All right, so for the last few questions, I'll call on you guys so we can get through them. All right, so this one is for Jerome. So what are the key characteristics that you look for when choosing a gaming chain partner? Does it matter? Do you prioritize distribution expertise or are there technical capabilities that you're prioritizing? So.
Yeah, we actually faced that kind of a choice last year. So just my personal thoughts, right? Maybe not true, maybe not really right. So I think in Web2 industry, when you choose these kind of partners, you should focus on the uniqueness, advantages, because all the other issues can be resolved. But in Web3, because this industry is still so new, you should actually really look at whether this partner has any, you should look at all the aspects, and you should be careful whether they have significant weakness. If there's some significant weaknesses, then it will become really big problem in the future when you launch your game or you operate your game. So I think there's gonna be more aspects than just a technique and distribution. So there's more details, for example, in terms of users, how many users this chain have, and whether they are really gamers, or at least do they play games, and more importantly, do they have buy power? There's some of the chain, they have users, but the user don't really have buy power, to be honest. And in terms of technology, whether they are stable enough, secure enough, whether they have those key components ready, whether they have the marketplace ready, whether they have the stable coins on each chain can works. And I believe there are more than that. And also whether this chain, they know about the game industry, they know game businesses. If they are just a traffic business, they know little about the game businesses, then eventually you will face issues when you guys move to the next stage. So I think, so my personal thoughts is we need to be more careful and try to look at all the different aspects before you make a final decision.
Well, let's go with Gabby. What are you seeing from the games that you're working with?
So what we're seeing, everyone has I would say free-to-play front end with what they're doing. I think this is great because you do want to onboard a lot of players into your ecosystem, and you don't want to expect these players to have to pay upfront. So this is a big improvement from a few years ago where you had to buy an NFT just to play the game. However, this presents a problem of how do you get the player who's a free-to-play player who may not be familiar with crypto to care about the Web3 elements. Sure, you can create a wallet on the back, but how would they care about, I guess, the Web3 portion of your game? So yeah, it means that for a game studio, you have to know about how to do free-to-play game design, and then you have to convert them to the Web3 portion of your game as well. So I think this is a challenge that is not largely solved at scale yet. Of course, YGG is here to kind of help convert the Web2 gamers into Web3 gamers, but yeah, this is what we're seeing.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna move to the next question. So this is something that's personally sometimes hard for me, right? Like scaling up my team, hiring in Web3, right? Like, are you prioritizing Web2 talent or Web3 talent? And how do you find people that understand the culture, but also, right, have the ability to get things done and build a game? Right? We'll go with Horace.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question for me because I came from a traditional studio background. And I think hiring in terms of game development is always difficult, from the startup, studio, early studio. And it's in terms of Web3 titles building, I think the different functionalities requires very different experiences, right? So for traditional disciplines, I think hiring, well, definitely, especially for game designer, that should have at least a basic understanding of the Web3 kind of components. What expectation from the product, what the community cares about, right? For game design, it's really, really important. And not only for gameplay, but also for economy system, right? All the numbers there, and all in terms of prioritization, that's really important. For engineers, while there will be two type of engineers, like game feature engineers and also Web3 components, engineers, economy system and transactions, all that, right? I think for artists, is easier, relatively easier in terms of traditional kind of disciplines, right? While in terms of NFT design, that also requires very unique angle that you have some basic experiences, and also take the other projects as good example. If someone with experience, then I think much better. I think the most challenging part will be marketing and community. Right? That's the most important and difficult part. And even for some OGs, it will be really challenging for them to take on a new project. Right? Different projects have very different priorities. And also, it involves with your tokenomic system design. That is also really difficult to manage. I think for marketing part, even the marketing division can have a very strong say in terms of game design. They're all connected, right? And also, the dynamics of the community changes rapidly. That could be a really, I would say, a hell of marketing in terms of your skills, right? You need to be really adaptive and smart. You know how to change, and also need to know how to coordinate with your colleagues in the traditional game development team. That's part, I think, will be the most difficult part or rare attributes that you're looking for in terms of community and marketing director. Yeah, that's my understanding of the challenge there.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thanks for sharing. Let's go to Sobi.
Hiring in Web3 is pretty difficult, I'd say, for different roles. I'd say for engineers, we have a great tech team. That's traditionally or historically been pretty easy. The game development team is difficult in some ways, where you want to have a producer that has worked with Web2 games and understands how to be, for a better word, like an asshole, to be like, hey, no, we're cutting this, we're not doing this, and they've done that before, but also understanding what is going to move the needle for my users, right? So there's a different aspect of what do I need to prioritize. To echo the point made earlier, I'd say marketing is probably the hardest role to hire for. I'd say that's probably not just a Web3 thing. I think in general, marketing people are relatively lazy, and it's really hard to find people that are very good at that. Part of it too, I think, is the culture is so different. For instance, you can hire a marketer that is used to more of a performance marketing aspect of the world, right? Especially coming from mobile. But if you're in Web3, anytime I see a crypto project doing paid ads on Twitter, I instantly think that's like a low trust project. It fails the vibe check, right? It's a lot more earned media here, which is a different paradigm. And the other aspect too is I think people actually undervalue community managers. We've worked with a lot of different community management groups, and they aren't actually that good, if that makes sense, because they create more problems for you where, they're just, I'm just here to copy pasting questions into the Discord or the Telegram instead of really owning the community. And I think teams need to really actually really undervalue their community managers. You need to hire from your community. And the other thing that we've done internally is, we worked on a boot camp with Outlier Ventures that we put our developers through for tokenomics, which has been great for our internal game design team. And then we also do every Friday, we do Web3 office hours, where we do like a presentation for like an hour, give a place for employees to talk. And internally, we've also done things with Rabbit Hole, where you have quests for your like new employees that may not be used to crypto, and you just have them go through and use things. Because ultimately, you can read about stuff, but crypto is best learned by doing.
I think something that comes to mind, right, is for me, it's actually really important for Web3 gaming projects to have one of their non-technical founders see their primary role as community management. Right? That's where I come from. I was actually the first community manager for Axie, and it was only like by earning my stripes that I somehow became a co-founder of Sky Mavis. So. All right, we have time for one more. Let's try to squeeze it in. So the elephant in the room, crypto is down bad this week. Meme coins seem to be the culprit. I'm hearing, one of the things that Yacht was telling me a couple days ago, right, is that meme coins actually sucked a lot of the attention, a lot of the liquidity out of the market into kind of this speculative mania. But we actually have seen that before in 2021. If you guys remember when Elon went on Saturday Night Live, that actually marked the May top of 2021, which was actually not the final top. So my question here is, how does Web3 gaming regain the narrative? How do we steal attention back towards useful, practical applications like games and away from speculative vehicles like meme coins? Let's go to Gabby first.
Yeah, so there's different user bases within crypto, right? And I think you have to differentiate between speculation and ownership. It looks like the same thing, but it's actually not. And speculation is the superpower of crypto. But I think that speculation has to be used to steer people towards something that has value. Could be a game, could be a DeFi project. And there's been a lot of great games that have been building. There's actually a ton of value being built. I think we need to be able to use that speculation not as an end in itself, but to steer it towards, experiences that have value.
Let's go with Jerome.
I don't think like a gaming can. If we like do apple-to-apple comparison, I don't think we as a game can defeat meme coin at all, because we cannot steal. It's very difficult to steal user from meme coin. So like in Space Nation situation, what we do is that we just focus on building our own community, because we have a real game that people already can play. And actually, in the recent class, all our community members, they are super happy about being a part of our community, because we save them from losing money. Many of them they choose to hold our assets, and it performs really good compared to the overall market, way better. So they like it. And the other thing is like we actually should learn from meme coin and to add some meme culture into your operation, into your community management. That is something that maybe we can adopt, but we cannot defeat them. They are way faster, quicker, stronger. Yeah.
Let's go to Sobi.
So to touch on Gabby's point, I think speculation is actually a very strong coordination tool. For instance, in Christianity, people speculate on an afterlife, and that allows them to coordinate in their current life on how to act. I think the reason why gaming may not be doing as well is because you've seen a lot of projects launch tokens that don't really make sense, right? They're not really doing the right tokenomics aspect. In fact, the other part of this too, I think, is we've done a poor job of marketing Web3 gaming. Not like every project, but in the aggregate. Play to earn is literally free money. Literally, it's free money that we're still doing a bad job of advertising, because I think the issue is a lot of projects try to have their cake and eat it too. I've been honestly surprised by the performance of game token launches of the last quarter. Some projects, some teams that I thought were really good teams, their token launches didn't go well. And I think what's happening is a lot of game projects are rushing to market, and they're not doing a good job of their tokenomics design, right? Pirate Nation's probably been the better recent launch because they gave more back to their community. What we've seen time and time again is a lot of these games are just farming the farmers, and then not giving them enough incentive or truly building their community. So I think to get attention back is actually not going to be that hard. It's just gaming takes longer time, and the delayed gratification is hard in crypto. So if you're, being discouraged because some fucking dog coin is like worth $1 bajillion and you're working really hard and you're not performing, you just have to keep grinding and you will capture attention. It's just right now we're in this weird phase where like there's not new users being onboarded, but they will be soon.
Makes sense. Now, there were like, I want to watch the replay of that because there were some like interesting moments. All right, let's go to Horace.
Yeah, I think for gaming sector in Web3, I mean from a traditional background, I feel that there's still not enough strong products in the industry. Just to be honest, to be really honest, I didn't see really worldwide popular games in the genre yet. We need stronger products. We need League of Legends, World of Warcraft. We need all kind of like big games that coming, high quality products, really meaningful, impactful products in this genre. I haven't seen that yet. I mean, I only see speculation, some news come out 3 months and then die down, and nobody talk about it. So there's no games that are lasting for like more than 2 years, 3 years, that really widely played by everyone. I haven't seen that yet, to be honest. So yeah, money making is a really important part of it, but still we don't have a really strong products about influence enough for the mainstream users. I haven't seen that yet, just to be honest. Maybe some gamers made some money out of it, but that's it. I mean, outside of this circle, nobody's talk about it. So we still need stronger, better, more great products. Come to the basics, right? So yeah, this is something that the observation I have, from a newcomer to this circle. So thanks.
All right, they keep giving us more time. So we'll go with one thing until they, kick us off the stage. What's something contrarian but obvious to you that you strongly believe about Web3 gaming moving forward? We'll go with Gabby.
Yeah, I'll start with this. I don't know if this is contrarian in Asia. This is contrarian in the West. I think games can be jobs, and I think you'll get crucified in the US for saying that. But, I mean, people are assuming that like games are fun and jobs are not fun, and that in itself is not even always true. Like you can have a job that you enjoy and getting better at and also getting paid. And by the way, that's what esports is as well, right? Yeah, it is a game, it is a job. And like, of course, looking at a guild environment, there are different roles that people play. And even when I was playing Axie 5-6 years ago, there were people who were, the scholar, the manager, the breeder, the content creator. There were actually different roles for people to play in the ecosystem, and doing that together, coordinating that together was fun, right?
Okay, we'll go with, Sobi.
I actually have the same opinion as Gabby, but we're a Western team. I think play to earn actually can work. I'd say that maybe the contrarian part is I think people have this idea that every game needs to be a forever game, that play to earn can't be sustainable because it just comes and goes like a flash in the pan. I think that's super incorrect. If you look historically, game retention is a function of spend. You come and play a game like Pal World, right? Everyone was talking about Pal World all over the gaming world. Barely anyone's playing it right now. But was that game not a success? It came out for a few months. It caught lightning in a bottle, had tons of users. I'd say in my, from the Web3 framework, I think Axie is one of the most successful games of all time, where, it created so much economic value, and maybe the asset prices aren't the same anymore, but that's okay. Like, there's only a few games that people have played time and time again over years and years and years, and it's literally like League of Legends, Counter-Strike, some of the most iconic games in the world. I think it's unfair to be like every play-to-earn game or every crypto game needs to be this game that's going to stand the test of time. It's okay if your game launches and it's a big launch and people play and spend for 1 or 2 years and then they move on to the next thing. That's just entertainment.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so one thing that I was thinking about, right, is actually like one of the things that I talk to our game designers about is you have to think about some of our users as like Uber drivers, right? So when you think about Web3, right, you're starting a nation, but you can also think of a nation as a network, right? In a nation, there's going to be like a variety of different people, and you have to kind of bootstrap different archetypes of people in your nation. I believe that we are being kicked off the stage. Thank you, Kyoto. Please keep an eye on the future of Web3 gaming. We believe that it's really bright, and we believe that Japan will have a huge role to play in it. Thank you. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Finally, take a photo. Yeah. Take a photo. Take a photo. Yeah. Speak. Everyone, once again, please give our great speaker a round of applause. Woo. Following this, we will start lighting the wave Web3 gaming opportunities in this cycle at 3:30 p.m. Please wait for a while. Thank you.